Oh, Sahar's muted. I told her to mute and now I'm speaking to her. Welcome everybody, good evening. We're so glad that you're here. My name is Gail Schorsch and I am the founder and director of Bronx Eats. And Bronx Eats is all about making healthy cooking and eating a community habit through hands-on food education. I'm very thrilled to be partnering tonight with the Heights Urban Empowerment Organization and Antonio and Lizette, the organization that is bringing this August cooking series featuring Bronx chefs. So thank you again for hosting and joining us, and I will turn it over to my co-host, Antonio.
Hi, and my name is Antonio Camacho, one of the co-founders of the Heights Urban Empowerment, also known as THEW. Our aim is to prepare and empower underprivileged and underserved inner city youth with life skills and tools through hands-on experiences to become leaders of their lives and community. We are delighted to be joining forces with Bronx Eats this evening.
So this series will explore the delicious flavors of vegetarian cuisine and show you how fun and easy it is to make health-promoting dishes at home with fresh ingredients. Our hope is that you'll repeat what you learn here after class or later in the week. You're also free to try to cook along at home right now, but that's not required. And again, we believe that food is medicine, so hopefully you will be taking home some really delicious medicine at the end of this evening.
All right. If you did not receive a recipe in advance, I will place the link in the chat box in a moment. As we get started, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box, where you're from, and what you hope to learn this evening. As a reminder, please mute yourselves to minimize background noise throughout the program. We encourage you to ask questions through the chat box as the demo proceeds. Some of them will be answered in real time, others will be saved until the end.
And so now, without further ado, we'd like to introduce Sahar Anjum. Sahar is currently a student of nutrition at Lehman College in the Bronx. She is passionate about food and likes to show people that cooking healthy food does not have to be boring. We are so pleased to welcome her here tonight to demonstrate some delicious and traditional Pakistani dishes that will help you not only reach your fitness goals, but also leave you licking your fingers. Thank you, Sahar, so much for sharing your talents with us. And now feel free to take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that introduction. I'm just going to dive right into it. We're going to start because actually going to take a while. We have to make sure that all the spices are thoroughly cooked. So we're going to start with chopping our onions.
Sahar, can you make sure that we can see the chopping board, please?
Oh, I'm so sorry about that.
It's okay.
Is that good?
Yes, that works. Thank you, Sahar.
Okay. So we're going to start by chopping our onion, and today we're making Pakistani chickpeas and spinach with white basmati rice.
Gail, I have a question. How do you make her screen become the main screen?
All right, I can answer that question for you. So what you want to do is you want to hover your, if you're using a computer, hover your mouse over her window, Sahar's window, and you'll see a little, what do you call it, a push pin, and you'll click on the push pin, and it'll enlarge into the screen.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Got that, Brenda? I saw you.
Thank you.
And there is a chat button on the top right of your screen. So please feel free to put any questions, any comments, any thoughts that come up in the chat box, and we will definitely get to them.
Yeah, or just speak your question because I won't be able to read it until like way after.
No, but we'll share that with you, Sahar. You don't have to worry about that.
So I'm just starting off by slicing. And then we're going to cut this way to make cubes so that this way it just fries faster. I wish I could chop fast like the pros, how they do it on Food Network, but
No, that's what makes it look more realistic. Well, people won't be as intimidated.
right. Because even watching them, I get a little intimidated too. 1, 2, 3, and everything is looks picture perfect.
We don't want picture perfect. We want you. Just the way you are.
Okay. So I'm just waiting for the pot to dry because I rinsed it out a little before beginning. Now that it's fully dried, I'm going to add some oil. I'm one of those people who I can never measure food. Like, I can never measure while I'm cooking. It drives me crazy. Even writing out the recipe was hard for me.
So you just covered the pan a little bit with oil? Is that maybe a tablespoon or two tablespoons?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you could see. Just so it's just a little bit. It's maybe around 3 tablespoons. Start by adding the onion. Make sure the oil is nice and hot. Ooh, that is hot indeed. So while that's frying, we're going to focus our attention on the rice, which I've already measured out. So I'm just going to rinse these under warm water a few times, around like 3 times. And then I'm going to soak them also in hot water. Sorry, I'm still getting used to the camera and everything. So just let me know if you can't see something or...
So, Sahar, there's a question about why are you rinsing and then soaking the rice in hot water? What are you trying to wash out?
We are just, basically it's full of starches. So this way you kind of get rid of some of the starch. Also, we just do it. It's tradition as well.
I was told that some of the rice is a little dirtier in certain places where there's rocks or pebbles or things in there. Do you find the rice to be a little cleaner with certain companies or maybe, in the United States?
To be honest with you, in the United States, most of the rice is clean to the point where we don't really have to rinse it out. But like
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. But like back home, right? The rice tend to still have the shell on them, and they're also filled with pebbles.
So if you skip that step, you'd still probably be okay, right?
Yeah, for the most part, you would be okay. But another thing is that when we soak the rice after washing it, it tends to absorb some of the water, and when we cook it, you'll see that it elongates significantly, as opposed to other rices where they don't, other types of rice, excuse me, they don't do that. So right now I'm just stirring. I'm just curious, is anyone else cooking with me?
Oh, great question. Is anyone out there cooking? Can you let us know? Put it in the chat box.
Now we're gonna lower the heat
Oh, there is somebody cooking along.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, there are 3 people. No, 2 or 3.
Hungry?
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. Okay, so now we've lowered the heat. This is really important because you don't want the spices to burn. So I'm going to go light-handed with the salt because I'm not really too much of a salt eater anyway. But besides that, the chickpeas are canned. So they already have salt. So I'm just going to about like half a teaspoon of salt. Some chili powder. This is called Kashmiri chili powder. And it's way spicier than like regular chili powder. Again, we're just going to ballpark that around that's too much. Around like 1 tablespoon of this. I mean, 1 teaspoon of this. A little more, but it's the flavor that counts, not the measurement, right? Okay. And then for the turmeric, you want to go light-handed because this tends to be bitter if it's too much. And if you're not a big turmeric user, you should definitely be because it has a lot of antioxidant properties and antibacterial properties. And you can put it in your tea, you can put it in curries, you can even season your rice with it. But anytime you're using these spices, it's important to use a little bit of oil. Okay, we're just gonna let that cook for a little bit. Again, this is on low heat. So as you can tell, it's like kind of getting dry and sticking to the pan. What we're gonna do is instead of adding water, we're gonna use some of the chickpea water from the can. Just so all the flavors blend together. Just a little bit. I'm gonna pour a little bit in. Just so that it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. Okay, while that's cooking, we're gonna wash and cut our tomatoes.
Sahar, there's a question about, is that a special pot? Where did you get it? And what kind of metal or stainless steel or, size? Is there a special size you need to have to make this dish?
Not necessarily a special size, but it cooks best in stainless steel pots. And this specific one, it's more like a wok or a karahi, as we call it in Urdu. And
so you can make this in a wok, you can make this in a regular pot. Either way works.
Yeah, it's just easier for me personally to stir it in a wok, like a wok shaped pot. And these pots you can get like anywhere there's like Indian food or like an Indian store or a Pakistani store. That's where we get most of our pots. You'll see the rice one too. It's a little different from what you'd find in like Macy's or something. Not too different, but just a little bit. But another thing that's really important with these pots is that you have to be super careful about how you hold them when you're cooking. Because it's so easy to forget that the handles aren't lined. They tend to be very hot. If I had $1 for every time I burned myself, I'd be rich.
So some people are concerned about using the water from the canned beans. Is it okay to just use regular tap water instead of the water? Some people like to rinse their beans or their chickpeas before using them. Is it okay to use water instead, regular water?
Yeah, water instead, but the only reason why I even used the water from the chickpeas was because it has that starchy, it has some of the starches from the chickpeas. So it just brings the flavors together. And another thing is that for the purposes of this demo, I used canned beans but I usually just make my own. But that takes a really long time. I'm not sure if anyone's interested. Let you know what I do with those.
So there's at least one person who's saying that they're a little bit intimidated by cooking basmati rice. So I think your demonstration will be helpful for that. That's coming up, right?
Yeah, that is. That's okay. It takes a few tries to get them down, like perfect to where you want them. It's just a matter of, practice. They're not the type of rice that you can just easily throw in like a rice cooker or something, So now we're going to bring the heat back up to medium and cover it. We're going to wait for the tomatoes to completely cook down. And now we're going to get started on the rice. So I'm cooking the rice in this pot. We're going to fill it all the way up. The measurements for the water, they don't really matter for cooking basmati rice because we're going to drain it all anyway. So I'm using hot tap water. I'm just going to fill to the top because it's way easier. But if you're making any other type of, like, if you're making, right now I'm making plain white basmati rice, but if you're using basmati rice and you're making, like, say, chicken and rice, like 1 pot chicken and rice, then the ratio would be 1 cup rice to 2 cups of water.
Right. So you're sort of teaching us, for me, I think this is a less traditional approach. People are writing in that they usually do what you're saying, either 1 cup and 2 cups water or 1 cup and 1.5 cups water. But it sounds like you don't really measure the water. It doesn't really matter because you're going to be draining the water out at the end.
Exactly.
So that's a new technique for some of us.
So then we're going to go back in. Sorry. Okay. We're going to go back in with the salt. Again, not too heavy-handed. We're only cooking 1 cup of rice, which is going to yield about, like, multiple servings. Wait, 1 cup. So I'd like to use, because you want to go a little more. So I like to use a full teaspoon. Just going to salt the water and wait for it to boil. Give that a nice stir. And just let it do its thing. We're going to check on the tomatoes on the curry. Okay, it's coming along good, but still needs some time. I wish you guys can smell this.
Looks delicious. So, Sahar, is there a particular brand of basmati rice you use? Somebody's asking.
Oh, yeah, that can be pretty tricky because, believe it or not, even though it's the same product, it varies greatly from, like, brand to brand. Some of them, they don't elongate as much, and that's what you're really looking for. The brand that we use is, I believe it's Royal. Rice.
I'm sorry, we missed the last thing you said.
Okay, the last thing that I said, I believe I said you can get it at a lot of stores in the city.
Okay, so
And
no
my
particular brand?
No, my family likes to use Royal.
Royal, sorry, I just didn't hear you. Okay.
How they elongate. And not every brand elongates the same way. So then, while that's cooking, we're going to drain the chickpeas. Rinse it with cold water. I already have the spinach prepped. Just gonna leave it on the side. I'm gonna check again with the curry. And now if you look, it's becoming more of like a sauce. Like before it was way chunkier, and the more like the more sauce like it is, the better it is as a curry. You don't want your curry to be like chunky. You want everything to be just blended in together. I'm glad I'm making someone hungry.
So there's a question of whether you ever use canned tomatoes for your curry, or do you really prefer fresh?
Sometimes, but I would, every time that we're making vegetables or something vegetarian, vegan, it's better to use fresh tomatoes. It's just not the same, honestly. There's a huge difference in taste and consistency too.
And what about nutritional value?
Oh, of course, that's the most important. You always want to go for whatever is fresh as opposed to canned.
And what
Even
would...
though canned,
Sorry?
more, even though canned tends to be more convenient, which is why so many people prefer canned products. Like, it's even the reason why I use canned chickpeas today. Because it was convenient. And sorry?
Can you talk about the difference between the flavor when you're making the chickpeas from scratch versus getting them from a can? I mean, obviously, from a can is more convenient, but talk to us a little bit about, what the difference is in flavor and just maybe the time it takes to make fresh chickpeas and other things maybe you can make with it.
Okay, so in regards to time, I just soak them overnight so that they soften, and then I just put them in my Instant Pot, which God bless the creator of Instant Pot, because that thing is completely amazing. And if you don't have one already, you need to invest in one. And I just put it in there with some water filled to the top, like covering enough to cover the chickpeas for about an hour. And the flavor is completely different. It's more, you can taste how it's more like fibrous, and you can also, like, they have a completely different flavor. I don't even know how to, like, canned chickpeas, they're much softer and they're more like, they feel less dense. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Okay. And you're saying they're fully cooked after the hour, or they've just been soaked in that hour?
Oh, no, you soak them overnight.
Yeah, you're soaking them overnight. Exactly.
You soak them overnight, and then the following morning, you cook them in the Instant Pot with additional water for an hour.
Right. So there's an additional question about, could you please repeat what the first spice was that you put in before the turmeric?
This is Kashmiri chili powder, or you could use regular chili powder as well. This just adds more of a kick to your food. It's like way spicier than regular like chili powder.
And where does one buy that?
Sorry?
Where can you get that?
Also at like a Desi store, an Indian, Pakistani, even Bangladeshi store you can get it at. So I'm going to check on the rice water now. not quite ready, so we're gonna leave that for a little bit. Okay, so now it's almost more of a paste than what we started with, but it still needs to cook a little more. But this would be the perfect time to add the spinach. So here I just used a bag of baby spinach. Put the entire bag in. The thing with spinach is that it has so much volume. You think that you're overdoing it, but once it cooks, the leaves really shrink down.
So Sahar, you're inspiring so many people to want to buy more fresh ingredients, which is great. I'm wondering if you could spell the chili powder that the name of the chili powder that you were just using.
Sure, it's K as in kite, ASHMIRI.
Kashmiri.
Yeah,
Kashmiri chili powder?
exactly.
Okay, I put that in the chat box so that if anyone wants it, they can grab it.
We're just blending the ingredients now. Okay. We're turning up the heat as well. Not all the way high though, like more like medium high. Now we're gonna cover it so that those leaves can shrink. Now checking back on ice water. Okay. Great, the water is boiled now. I'm just gonna drain the extra water from the soaked rice and then add it to the pot. Trying to get a good angle so you guys can see. Okay. I'm gonna cover it, but halfway. And that's because they tend to boil so fast that it tends to like, can't wait to eat that, yummy. Yeah, they boil so fast and it tends to spill over and we don't want any messes. So now you can see them shrinking, but they're not where we want them yet.
So Sahar, I noticed that you're really kind of going with your instinct. So it's helpful for people to see that, you know, not everything has to be timed to an exact, you know, number, that you're kind of just looking at it and going with what you see rather than sort of a strict recipe sense. And I think that's helpful for people to feel like, you know, there's no perfect way to do it. You're really eyeballing it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not one of those people who can measure things out, and you know, that's a little too tedious for me. I feel like, see, what did I tell you? I feel like that's just way too tedious for me.
But for example,
And
if somebody cooks the spinach a little less or a little more, is that going to make a big difference in terms of the flavor and the outcome?
no, not really. Texture, but other than that, the flavor is going to be the same. Because the more you cook it, basically, you're trying to achieve a pasty consistency. You see how it's still a little chunky? You can see like the onion still, and you can kind of see the tomato still. So our final product is supposed to be completely like pasty. That's the best way I can describe it. And another thing is using your sense of smell. That can tell you if you're missing. Like I can already tell that I should have put garlic in here. It's because I don't get that smell. Intimidating as I thought. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. It's not as intimidating as you thought. Okay. We're going to lower the heat so that it could cook down a little more. We're going to check on the rice again. Already tell, I should have saved some uncooked rice to show you how long they get. You can already tell. Make sure. Let me give you a close-up. And that's because we soaked them in hot water before cooking them.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like you're using some kind of a special spoon over there, Sahar. Can you tell us about that?
This spoon?
Yep.
Yeah, because you want the water to go through it, kind of like pasta. You want so when you like stir the rice, you don't want the rice to break. So you want everything to flow. Almost as if the rice is swimming in the water. If that makes sense.
No, that's great. That's great. And the slattered spoons are something you can pick up pretty much anywhere, right?
Yeah. I mean, all my cooking stuff I got from a Pakistani store. But I'm pretty sure I've seen these, like these aren't from a Pakistani store, these spoons. I'm pretty sure you can get them everywhere. I think it's comparable to a pasta spoon. Okay, now it's cooked a little more, and it's time for our chickpeas. I'm just gonna grab the pot to stir it. This is what I was talking about. Like, I've accidentally grabbed this so many times and burnt myself.
So Sahar, you ready for another question?
Sure.
Is there a benefit to boiling the rice in, a large amount of water and then draining it versus doing a measurement thing and waiting for all the water to evaporate?
So you will find out in the next maybe few minutes.
You're going to pass it through the Zoom screen and let me do a taste test?
If only. If I could, I would.
But so many of us and so many of the questions are about how most of us are used to measuring and having the water evaporate. So I'm just wondering if this technique of leaving it in the boiling water and then getting rid of the water at the end gives it better flavor or gives it more room to expand. I don't know.
So basically, what it does is when we drain the rice and we're going to steam it after. And that black little, this thing, this is usually used to make like roti or like how you would make a tortilla. So we place the pot on top of that and let it steam. And what that does is it makes sure that the rice isn't sticky. So you can literally pull apart like each grain. But at the same time, the rice isn't undercooked, if that makes sense.
So is that, do you think that the rice ends up a little stickier if you're doing it in the more measured way where the water all evaporates off?
Yes, I believe so. And I believe it's way easier to make a mistake of overcooking or not having the right consistency when you're doing it with the ratio method as opposed to this. But remember, this is only for white rice. It's not for like if you were making rice and chicken like one pot rice and chicken, or if you were making biryani or other foods like that. So I just have this covered and on low. That way the chickpeas can absorb the curry flavor. Just going to turn up the heat a little bit because I see it's getting a little watery. We kind of want it just in between. We don't want it like too watery or too thick. I think the rice is ready to be drained now. I'm going to check. Okay. So you see what I did right here? I kind of smushed the rice and it only broke into 2 pieces. So we're looking for a consistency where I smush it and it just completely breaks. That's how we know it's ready to be drained. In the meantime, say more when the rice completely breaks. Well, a lot of tricks and shortcuts. I love it. What was the other one?
They're trying to understand when the rice completely breaks. That's a good thing, right? You're trying to get people to wait until the rice completely breaks before draining it.
Exactly. But you have to make sure that it's not too mushy. Like you see the rice. Oops. Sorry, I'm trying to like look into the camera and do this at the same time. Okay. So if you see this rice, it's not quite ready yet. You see how even though I smushed it, most of it is whole? We don't want that. We want it to be smushed completely.
So it sounds like what you're telling us is that you can judge a person's expertise with Pakistani rice making by the quality of the texture of the rice. Is that fair to say? You like if you tasted 2 different rices, you would know who's a better cook?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
There's been people like that's so funny that you mentioned that because that's actually like a Pakistani joke that some people can make everything but they can't make white rice.
Okay. So while we're waiting for the rice to finish up, there was a question about spicing, right? Using using fresh garlic and ginger with the fried onions, and also other spices like cumin powder or garam masala. I would just that's what's in the chat. Somebody was just curious why you didn't use those ingredients.
Okay, well, the garlic, I actually have this type of garlic. This has more of a sour flavor to it. I skipped out on that. That was the reason. And garam masala is usually better for like thicker food, like more fibrous food, like other types of dal. Even though chickpeas are fibrous, they're being cooked with spinach, which changes the consistency of the curry a little bit. So if I was making like chickpeas on their own, I would definitely add garam masala. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Different spices for different dishes.
Yeah. Also, ginger and garlic, the combination of ginger, garlic, and curry powder goes better with food like with meat or vegetables that mimic meat. For example, mushrooms. So, anytime you have like a watery vegetable, you don't want to use like spices like that. It just doesn't taste. It tastes like there's something missing. If that if that makes sense.
Right. No, that does. Another question, can you talk about the varying levels of heat and how thick the curry is?
So the curry is almost done. You want it to be like around this consistency where it's not too thick, but you can also eat it with roti or rice. I don't know if can you see the consistency of it?
Yeah, it looks delicious. It looks absolutely delicious.
Thank you.
And many people are chatting that they want a whole series with you to continue this amazing learning.
Oh, hopefully. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And hopefully if there is a next time, I'll be way better at the camera stuff.
No need to apologize.
And what was the other question about varying heat? So basically, we want to make sure that nothing is burning or sticking to the bottom of the pot. Sorry. That's why we kind of lower the heat. We kind of play with the heat around. We play around with the heat. And another thing is when you're waiting for something to soak up the flavor, you want to cover it and put it on medium heat, because low heat will make it more liquidy, and you don't want that when you're making a curry. So the chickpeas are done. Now we're working solely on the rice. Okay, they're ready to drain now. So now we're gonna do a test. Mush test. You see how the entire thing broke apart when I did that? That means they're ready to drain. Okay, this is gonna be a little tough to show you guys, but I'm gonna try my best. So let me know. Okay. Let me know if it's good, okay?
Yeah, that's perfect. We can see that colander over there.
Okay. All right. Cool. I wish I had like 2 cameras to show you both steps. So we're just taking a pot of rice. This is not necessarily safe, so I mean, just make sure you're doing it the safest way. What I mean to say is it's very easy to get burnt in this step, especially if you wear glasses, which I do. So you just drain it.
I like the way you're pouring the water away from you, right? So the steam doesn't come up into your face.
Yeah. So you see, if you look at the pot, it's completely dry, but there's still, like if I move around, there's still some moisture there. We're going to completely dry that out. But I'm going to move really slowly so you guys can grasp every step of this. another important thing is that I'm putting that away from me as well because it's very easy to have an accident. So now what I usually do is I keep the heat on high until this thing gets really hot. And if you don't have one of those, you can just put it like, just imagine me doing the same thing without that. It really doesn't make that big of a difference. But the difference that it does make is that it distributes heat all throughout the pot, kind of like a pressure cooker would. So now we're going to put the pot on. I'm just waiting for the pot to completely dry. Not only that, but both of them to reach at like an equal temperature.
Sahar, for some reason your sound is a little bit shaky right now. Are you there? Uh-oh.
Yeah, give us one moment, everyone. See what's going on. Okay, we got video again. Sahar, can you hear us? If you're speaking, we cannot hear you. Okay.
Sahar, did we lose her?
Quite possible. Right. So everyone bear with us. I'm gonna troubleshoot this on my end. Give me one moment.
How about now? Is that better?
Yes. Yes, now we can hear you. Are you there?
Yes, okay, and video is back.
We're dying to see the
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Are you there? Sahar, are you there? We can't hear you.
Yes.
Sahar?
Okay, she just stepped out. She's gonna come back in.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for your patience. We're right at the very end, ready to eat dinner here. So even if we can't get her back, we have taken you to the final minutes of this meal. So I'm hoping she'll come back. But
yes, there she is. She's back. Looks so delicious.
Ah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. What happened?
I don't know.
You're
back and ready for dinner.
All right.
Oh my God.
Here you go. Can you hear me good now?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, great. Sorry about that, guys. No clue what happened.
No worries.
So now we're just adding the rice back into the pot. And I'm going to give you guys a close-up here so you can see the consistency. There's moisture in the rice that we're going to steam out. Sorry. Okay.
Beautiful.
But there's a little bit of moisture there. And now we're just going to let it steam. Okay, now we have it on low for around 10-15 minutes.
So Sahar, you said that if you don't have that special attachment to your stove, you would put it on a low flame to reduce the moisture?
Yeah, you would just steam it on a low flame, or if you want to get super fancy, you can put it in a tray and just pop it in the oven for like 10 minutes at 350.
Whoa, so you're really serious about getting all that moisture out of there before you eat it.
Yep, we're really serious about our rice.
Okay, okay. Really appreciate this. It looks beautiful. Honestly, I haven't seen white rice that looks that, each kernel looking so independent is quite impressive.
Thank you. So if anyone wants to ask any questions in the meantime.
You said
Now that
350. It should be in the oven at 350 if you don't have one of these attachments. Okay.
Yeah.
People are admiring the look of your rice.
Oh, thank you.
If they have other questions, please go ahead and put your questions in the chat, because I think that Sahar's getting ready to have dinner. There was an additional question about making malai kofta.
So I've never tried malai kofte, but I have tried to make kofte. So malai kofte have a different spice in them, which includes a meat tenderizer, and it makes the the meatballs. It makes them more like soft and creamy. But the regular kofte are just like regular meatballs. They have they're more dense.
Okay, well, people are falling in love with you and want to know if you have a restaurant.
Oh no, I wish I did.
Is there any way that people can connect with you around food prep or private chef services or anything like that you want to give? Do you want to provide any kind of contact info?
Yeah, absolutely. You can always find me on Instagram. It's Morningstar_XO.
Okay. And
Email if you want. You can have my Lehman email. You can have my personal email. Lehman is sahar.anjum@lc.cuny.edu. Or my personal is sahar_anjum14@yahoo.com.
okay, Sahar, this is beautiful. Are you going to plate it for us so that we can just see the final, or you need a few more minutes to?
I think the rice, because I waited, okay, so I waited a little too long in between draining and putting them back in the pot because of the technical issue I had. So the consistency isn't how I would like it to be. Let me show you other rice that I already have. So the consistency of mine are going to be a little different because of that little time issue. So it's supposed to look like this.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay, so now I'm just getting ready to plate. We're going to turn it off.
So there are questions about whether you would provide catering for birthday parties or any other events, and I have provided your contact info, but that's a question that I don't know the answer to. Are you willing or interested in doing cooking? Wow, look at that.
Yeah. They're not as good because of the time but
We're not giving you grades. We're excited. And we have a comment that this was really simple to make. I usually do jar sauces when doing masalas and curry because I'm not familiar with the spices, but I can make this. I will make this again for sure. And that is the whole point of this hour together, is to be able to repeat what you have shown us. So that's great, great.
and this is the final product.
Wow, beautiful. Beautiful. And is there anyone online who is watching this who followed along and wants to show us what they did?
I would absolutely love to see that. If you did.
Who's willing to share? Okay, I don't have any volunteers to share, but that looks amazing. And Sahar, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sharing your knowledge, and your contact information is in there. So anybody who would like to follow up with you about, you know, hiring you for more Pakistani delicious food and amazing rice can be in touch with you directly.
Right. You can, if you're interested in catering or nutrition services, just contact me. Just email me, or you can either send me a DM on Instagram or email me. That's fine too.
Okay, thank you again so much. And thank you to everyone for joining us. Please sign up for the Bronx Eats newsletters to stay connected to us and learn more about future cooking demos. My email is going to be in the website. Sorry, on this chat in 1 minute. And next week we will be here same time, same place for more cooking and more learning. And so I hope you will join us. We're really excited that you joined us this evening, and we hope to continue this amazing journey of eating healthier, feeling more confident, and feeling better in our bodies and our souls.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Sahar. Thank you so much. It looks delicious. I just want to ask everyone to please complete the short survey that I already inserted in the chat box. Also, the Heights Urban Empowerment has presented various online summer classes. And next week we have one additional class called Body Weight Workout Class in partnership with Boogie Boulevard. The sign up is also in the chat box. We invite you to check out our website for all upcoming events. And finally, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you all, and good night, and hope to see you all next week.
And one last thing before we sign off is remember how important wonderful food is in our lives, and how important the process of making it yourself with your family can be, especially during COVID, when we all need to build up our immune systems with nourishing, healthy food. So Bronx Eats, somebody asked in the chat box about Bronx Eats. Bronx Eats really hopes that you will take back control of your own diet and health and keep learning how to prepare new things in the kitchen. Tonight is just one example of how to do that, and we really hope you'll join us for many more. So thank you again for joining us. Happy cooking, happy eating. See you next week, and please remember to register, and bye.
Thank you, Gail. Bye.
Bye. Good night, everyone.
Oh, hi, Haiti.
Thank you all for being here.
Good night. Good night.